How do entrepreneurs view failure? It's such a loaded word, failure. For many, we avoid it at all costs. But entrepreneurs view failure in a very unique kind of way. So let's take a look a little more closely. Hi, Rachel Steininger here, and today as we consider how entrepreneurs view failure, we'll look first at what happens when they fail and how an entrepreneur responds. We'll also consider a key difference in handling failure, and finally, what entrepreneurs have going for them and their view of failure that anyone can apply. So let's get started. We can best see how entrepreneurs view failure by looking at what happens when they fail. Most entrepreneurs, most humans, fail at something every day. We all make mistakes, but what matters most is that we get back up and keep going. In other words, it's not failure until you quit. The biggest thing that differentiates that entrepreneurial spirit is the willingness to keep going, to have the tenacity and the willingness to pick yourself back up and take the next step. In fact, I'd say most entrepreneurs view failure as opportunity. More than a learning experience, it's the data they need to adjust their course of action and keep going. And when we see entrepreneurs fail in a spectacular kind of way, a way that would have anyone else saying, "Ugh, sucks to be you," or "glad it's you, not me," just a short while later, they are back on their feet and more successful than ever. Making mistakes, failing, it's really just a learning opportunity, a natural part of progressing forward as an entrepreneur and as a human being. How do you know as an entrepreneur that you are failing forward? Or maybe you're just obsessed with the struggle and allowing yourself to get sucked back into failure after failure. Grab the assessment in the links below and find out whether that's you and what you can do about it. So how do we cultivate this way of viewing failure as an entrepreneur? To me, there is a power in being willing to fail and fail publicly. I remember leaving a voicemail once where I got my name wrong and my company name wrong, and then leaving this long gap as I tried to figure out how to delete the message. And the client called back laughing at me. When we take on shame, go into hiding, that's a sign of us quitting. It's in this act that we actually come across as having lost, having failed, showing up as less than worthy. In that scenario, I left with the client, and instead of feeling like a failure or that the client was judging me, we had a great moment of human-to-human connection and got right back to business. And instead of viewing that moment with shame, and it is up there as one of my most embarrassing career stories, I view it as one of the great learning moments of my career, that being human allows other people to be human too. And that humanness that we can acknowledge, that brings us together. I wish I could say that of every mistake in my life. I'm no more perfect in this than anyone else. But I do know that the places where I can treat my failures with honesty are the exact ones where I hold less shame and have learned the most. So the first and most important step is to recognize that failure will always be there, will always be with us. And instead of shunning it or pushing it off to the corner where we don't want to deal with it, let's welcome it with open arms, because it is bringing us opportunity to connect, to learn, to get data, and to progress. Where have you found experiences of failure have allowed you to learn and to move forward? Do you find that being willing to expose them to the light of day has actually helped you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. No need to share your embarrassing stories, but I'd love to hear what you learned and what you could take away from them. And I'm sure others will be inspired by your stories as well. Last up, let's tackle some strategies for picking yourself back up when you have experienced failure. Because let's be honest, this isn't as easy as it sounds. There can be days where you just want to curl up and quit. And it's the tenacity and resilience that can keep you in the game. Here are a couple of things that great entrepreneurs have going for them in their view of failure. Number one, they monitor their attitude like they monitor their businesses. In fact, mindset and company culture may be even more important than the mechanics, especially in tough times. It's as Viktor Frankl said in Man's Search for Meaning, if we can't choose our circumstances, the greatest freedom lies in our ability to choose our own attitude, to choose our own thoughts. Choose the mindset that works for you. Number two, they do it anyway. A great entrepreneur isn't working off of grand motivation or even the quick wins day in and day out. A lot of the work that goes into building a great business isn't glamorous, and it doesn't come with immediate payoff. To take one company that's been wildly successful, having started in a garage, Amazon itself was misunderstood by Wall Street for many years because they were focused on long-term value, not on quarterly earnings, even willing to run programs that looked like failures, knowing that it was proving out the big picture. Entrepreneurs recognize that failing on the quick hits, but winning on the long term might expose them to the failure criticism, but they choose the hard way anyway. Number 3, finally, they know their why. What's that big impact they want to have on the world? Very rarely is this something accomplished in one project, one task, one client. Getting a handle on your big impact is not only great for attracting clients and colleagues to you, but it's paramount in picking yourself back up after a failure. Because your why isn't going to be set off track by one bump in the road. It's achieved through a longer series of actions. And the only way to fail on that longer series of actions and on that why is to quit. So let me know, is this something that you relate to or can find valuable in your own life, whether you're an entrepreneur or not? Click the subscribe button now so you don't miss out on any of our weekly videos with great tips like this to build your business and grow in your visionary leadership. Thanks for joining me here today, and I will see you next week.